asked her if the presenters had to be there in person, and she said yes, which I thought was kind of odd. And I know that a lot of our schools have kind of travel bans right now, and my school, we're not really supposed to be traveling. I know in INACAC, we had talked about not wanting to travel really. So, yeah, she said if proposals were accepted, we were supposed to submit a virtual presentation by November 1st. That date was yesterday, and I still haven't even heard if our proposal has been accepted, and I haven't gotten a response from her. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I can see if we can still put together a presentation and maybe just send that to them and they can disperse that however they want to. But that's kind of the only thing I have on my plate. And yeah, a time to just sit and talk and see what we can do to increase membership numbers. Do you have anything, Katie?
Not really. So the only things that I've been trying to figure out is, because it does seem like, you know, we are doing our conference virtual, and I feel like a lot of the other state affiliates are going to be doing their conferences virtual as well. Wondering if there's any time where maybe we could work with the Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky, maybe even Michigan, just kind of the donut states here, to say, is there any way for us to even maybe do like a partnership where we can say the benefits of joining INACAC and the Illinois ACAC or the Ohio ACAC, just to kind of build off each other? I feel like probably right now the best thing we could do is use our affiliates, our close affiliates that we know. Obviously, I think in a normal year, a lot of us would be traveling to those states to do different fairs and even visit some different high schools. So I'm trying to figure out a way to maybe work with those other affiliates to see if there's a way where we can maximize our oh gosh, I had the words earlier, but to maximize our viewing with other states, so that way we can get our name out there, show not only the schools here in Indiana why it's important for us to be members of INACAC, but why maybe we can get, you know, the University of Findlay, I pick on them just because that's where I used to work, but why it would be important for them to become a member of INACAC as well, see the value of it. So that's one of the things I've been trying to work on my really big to-do list that I have here. But that's one of the things that I was thinking of.
I did share with some people, not everyone. And I think, Katie, thank you for telling me that it wasn't working. I think maybe I fixed it. Just, oh my gosh, now I have a dog jumping behind me. Ignore. Trying to think about why high school counselors don't join. I mean, I remember probably 3 years ago, I presented at a conference, and I sat down at lunch after the presentation, and these ladies said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you did a high school presentation. Usually we come and there's nothing for us to see." Well, obviously that was a while ago, and you guys have changed conference so much. It's so amazing now. And there are more sessions relating to high school, but you kind of can't shake that reputation overnight of like, I went to that one time, I didn't learn anything, or I was part of that. I felt like it was more valuable for me to be a member of ISCA and go to ISCA instead, things like that. And that's what I hear from counselors when I would say like, oh yeah, you know, just mention at some of those like college luncheons and stuff, hey, I'm involved in INACAC, like the secondary school issues. Would you ever be interested? And they would look at me like, well, why? That's for college. That's like for college. And I would try to explain like, oh, here's why, but when it gets down to it, if it's mostly people who are specific college counselors, like that's their role, who are members, it's hard to convince even the high school, right, like the traditional high school counselor to lobby to their principal and like fight that battle if they're not truly sure like what's in it for them. I guess, well, not that, I mean, people obviously are committed to growth, right? But if they don't necessarily see that immediate return on, why would I spend my time, spend my school's money, fight the battle to get money for this if I don't know why? So that's kind of like, so then when I was working on that survey, I couldn't get past some of those things that you see, like the budget constraints, the available time, the lack of supervisor buy-in. After a few of those start to stand up as barriers, it becomes like, I don't know, what do we expect them to do? So I tried to leave some open areas for feedback if they had like a simple fix for us or something that they thought, but I just wasn't quite sure like what else to ask. Then below that, so we had a meeting like a year ago. It's been so long with I have it somewhere. We had like CHE, DOE, private high school, rural high school, suburban high school, public college, private college, charter school, and ISCA, all on the call together. And so we were discussing like, what do you think is an issue that you would love to fix to help students transition to college, like so INACAC can start to bridge some of those gaps. And the first things that came up were like logistical, but then immediately it switched to like, it needs to be about post-secondary paths in general instead of just college. Like so many rural and urban schools were saying they wanted more, they only have a certain percentage of their students attending four-year schools, and they needed more information on two-year military certification, employment, different things, and why would there not more like college fairs that were actually career fairs so it could serve their whole population. And we talked a lot about like unsanctioned fairs too, and how at some places they see like barriers to being sanctioned and then give up and just kind of go rogue and do something. Well, that makes it harder on the colleges. So I just was amazed that they immediately went to something that really wasn't even within them. Not that, I mean, we obviously do four-year and two-year schools, but are we going to have like vocational things coming to INACAC events? No, that's not the mission of INACAC. So that was something that popped out too. But other than that, I don't have any, I haven't gotten to the idea phase yet. I'm still in the problem phase, I guess.
I mean, just from hearing you discuss all those things, that all sounds to me like the value proposition, is just off with INACAC for our high school counselors. What is the inherent value of being members? And it's unfortunate, but it is a reality that we are more college side heavy when you think about programming, when you think about who raises their hand to do presentations at conferences, who attends a large number of the professional development opportunities. And we don't have to like point fingers at like why that is the case, but that's the reality that we live in. So it makes you wonder, what do we need to do? Do we drastically change what we offer through our website, our professional development opportunities, and our committees to bring that value up to what they're expecting? Or do we lower that initial barrier, the cost, to a place where they're like, you know what, this value seems good for what I'm getting, for what I'm paying? And like one of those two probably has to move drastically in order to bring more high school counselors on board. That's my initial thought from hearing Pam say what she just said, is that we just have to reevaluate the value proposition. And if we really think that the high school counselors, specifically though, in my opinion, specifically those who are at least represented in our organization, do we feel like they are important to be a part of our organization? We do need to strongly consider these type of measures to make it accessible for them to join our organization.
Another thought I had is, oh my gosh, you guys, I really just didn't sleep much last night, so I can't remember.
Me either, Pam, no excuse.
The counselor updates like that we started last year that were so amazing. And we definitely got people who were not active in INACAC who came to those events and had great experiences. And then all the things that we have going on, I mean, transitions conference and all those things that people they do relate exactly to high school counselors' jobs that don't necessarily spend the majority of their day in the college process. So if we keep growing those things, which have been so amazing and successful, well, then maybe it is. Like, I don't want to be a full-time member, but I want to be a high school consumer of this information, you know, some other level where they can participate in those things without feeling like they have to ask their principal or their school district for so much more, but they're getting the information, which is what we need at first to help the students. We need to spread the knowledge that we're providing, and then it can like grow further from there. I don't know.
Pam, question.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Katie.
So, and also like when we're trying to push like the value of INACAC to high school counselors and we're trying to get the word out, is there a way we can do it? Because I know like last year for conference, for example, like in the past few years, we've tried to consciously make an effort to have special sessions just for high school side to make sure that they have plenty to do if they come. But when we send it out, we don't get a lot of response back because it's just like the conference committee sends out the proposal form. Do you think so? Whenever we had at the planning meeting, we had counselors specifically come up with ideas and ask certain people to be presenters. So it was more not the 30,000 foot view and ask, but the more concentrated view directly from peers. Do you think when we were talking about membership, talking about value, talking about processes, do you think having more personalized outreach from our current high school counselor members to potential members on the high school side, saying this is what I specifically got out of it, and this is what I specifically get out of the organization, and not just send an email saying these are our options, these are what you get from it, but saying this is what I get from it. You know, whether it is a general email that comes, you know, from Pam or from Lonnie or from someone that's on the high school side saying these are the reasons, and not have it necessarily a crafted INACAC message, but have it more real. Do you think that would be a better difference? Because I can tell you all day long, hey, you're going to get this from it, but I don't live your world, and I don't have the same interaction, same job responsibilities as you. So how can I really relate and tell you this is what you're going to get out of it if I get something totally different out of it because I am on the college side? So I mean, do you think that would help if, like, as we're going through this conversation, as we're going through what ways we can maybe reach out and get a better grasp of basically just segmenting the message to the different populations from someone in that population, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt, right? Like the more things we can try, I think the better. I think it would help if we had like, and that's something that our committee could work on, like a clearly articulated list of what people are supposed to get out of it, like what those benefits should be, and asking our current members, are you getting these? Because what the college, you know, what I thought when I was on the college side isn't necessarily what I see the experience being. Like now it's kind of, oh, I get an opportunity for professional development. I get an opportunity to network with people who I can call if I need something for one of my applicants. But if that's not a large part of your daily job, is that even exciting? Is that enticing? Like, oh, I should do that. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know because I don't live in a real world of what other high school counselors do. And I don't think many people who have had like executive positions necessarily do. Like some of them do, but a lot of them are specific like high school counselors for their school. And that doesn't give us an accurate picture of what people need or want or could benefit from. If we could find that's the thing, right? The like catch-22. If we could find a public, urban or rural high school counselor who had time to be co-chair and or to work up to like a exec board position, whatever we call it, the cabinet, that would be great because they could give that real picture. They could do that, say like, this is what we actually need. But I don't know that we can find one that has that role that also has the time. I'm still looking. I'm asking every time I see someone and they're like, no, I don't have time for that. Unless they have a role like mine. And then again, they have a similar view on it as I do because we think it's valuable.
One of the things I've told counselors, obviously I'm a generalist counselor. I would say college counseling is maybe 10% of my job. I'm mostly doing other things. So I think what I've told counselors and what I think I get from it is, and the difference between maybe ISCA and INACAC is I've been a counselor for a long time. Like I know how to be a counselor, but the college stuff and the financial aid stuff, that's the stuff that changes. Um, and since I'm not absorbed in that all of the time, I think it's good for me to belong to an organization where that I'm staying up to date on that information. So, and I, I've been to an ISCA conference. I've been to, there's stuff that's aimed toward every level, really elementary, puppets and God knows what. And so I feel like some portion of that organization wouldn't apply to me. And sometimes some sessions at INACAC don't really apply to me or my job either. But I just think that, I've picked the thing that I really need to stay up on for the benefit of my students. So I think that's one of the biggest, reasons for me.
So I'll work on that. I'll make start drafting hey, here are some selling points, and we can try to get those out to people throughout this process too.
I mean, could we attempt something where we are extraordinarily, almost aggressively intentional about recruiting public counselors? I mean, we do, it's a small number, but we do have some in our membership. And is it potential that we could get the names and emails of those individuals and just intentionally recruit them? I would be happy to make a couple of phone calls to counselors that may not have been able to be in a committee, but are here, and it's hey, or anyone. I mean, I know we're all strapped for time, but if it's 30 of them and we can all take 3 or 4 and make some phone calls hey, we just want to know what's this like for you being a part of INACAC? What can we do to help? Are there any committees that you think you would be interested in being a part of? Because it just takes those. Maybe it takes that type of intentionality. When someone is so busy, an email is not going to sway them to join a committee or to come to a professional development event, but a phone call or an intentional communication with them might do a little bit more.
It wouldn't be hard to run that report. We could
definitely
pull that for high schools.
Okay. I mean, I would think public high schools and rural high schools would probably be who we would want to pull for that.
That's the way I ever got onto the executive board. Amy Marsh at Franklin Central said, "Hey, I think you would be great for a membership co-chair. Would you think about it?" And I agreed to meet with somebody because it is scary when you're really busy. I don't ever want to take on something that I don't think I can do a good job of. So it took her convincing me no, I think you'd be great at this. And here's what it would involve. And then no way did I ever think of being president until Scott Hamm talked to me repeatedly about it and said, "No, really, you could do this."
Yeah.
So I agree that
from Luna, and I said no, and then she said, here's where the meeting is. That's why I'm here. I never got involved. She called me and said, "Hey, we think you should be involved." I said, "No, thank you." She said, "Okay, we'll see you in July."
Yeah. And you're awesome. Maybe we just, maybe we need to do that. Go ahead, Katie.
What are the things? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's Lindsay. I'm on the phone.
Hi, Lindsay.
So I can't see all your beautiful faces. But one of the things I was going to say too is one of the things we had done to restructure the counselor update events, which unfortunately didn't get to happen, but hopefully will in the future, was to go to more areas to get to more of those rural counselors and those counselors that may not attend anything else in ACAC related or specific or not be able to do that. But we also added to the agenda a whole conversation from a high school counselor about why they are involved and why they are a member of an ACAC, and highlighting the various things we do throughout the year that they benefit from and take advantage of, and how they benefit them. We were trying to provide awareness of something where we already have a captive audience of people who may not otherwise do things. Now I have no idea what 2021 will bring and if we'll be able to do that, but I think being intentional when we do have captive groups, no matter what it is, if it's virtual or physical or things, to slide things in. The more we can do that, the more we can get people just talking about it as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That would be perfect. Just to have, so they hear it more in different places
Yeah.
and from voices.
I'm hoping even with this year, the way we did it, where we just shared it with everybody and shared that information and, shared it with organizations who then continually shared it in pieces, that there may also be counselors in the future that say, hey, what about that thing we got last year? Like, when we got all that information, like, where did that come from? And how did I get that information? And how do I get it again? Where we can build some connection pieces that way too.
And I'm relatively new here, so I'm going to throw this out there. And if it's a bad idea, just say that. That's okay. I obviously don't know like what our funds look like and everything, except for the couple of meetings that I've sat in on. But I'm wondering if, targeting public school counselors in certain areas of Indiana, I'm wondering if we can target a couple of those schools and maybe offer some type of incentive just for a year and say, our conference is virtual this year. We would allow 1 or 2 of your counselors from your school to join our virtual conference at no cost to you, just for this 1 year, kind of do a trial round. Hopefully, maybe that would get some of the counselors interested, and then that could help them next year with getting funding to have a membership. I don't know, just something that we could put in front of them where it's really like no cost to them. It's easy for them, as long as, I know they're all busy, but as long as they have some time in their schedule. And if we do kind of push a couple of high school counselors to submit proposals for conferences specifically for high school side, then maybe they would see the benefit in that and join next year, possibly.
I love that. And I like it if we kind of do the marketing of it, like, you've been nominated, we think you'd be great, so we want you to come for free. Then they feel special. I mean, they are, but it really makes them be like, oh, it's like a big deal to get to do this, not just like, oh, these people might need members. I think that's an awesome idea. Thank you.
I love that idea as well. And I've thought for a while, some of our affiliates have done some big things over the last couple of years. And they have tremendous budgets to support things like this, like giving all of their public school counselors free membership. Like, that's huge and would be great, but I don't know if we have the bandwidth to do something like that. But I do like the idea of meeting people where they are. And if where they are is, I have great ideas, I could be a great asset to you, but even $50 is too much for my school to make me a member. Okay, well, let's try a year or 2 where you can be a part of everything and get all the benefits, and then you can go back to your superintendent and say like, hey, we need to find this $50, versus us saying, hey, pay us $50 and we have a bunch of great stuff for you. That might be something that we can intentionally add. And I would also say, if we want to do this, I don't think this is something that they should apply for. Because that's just one more barrier to them getting access to this membership. So it might be something like we select a number of people from each region, and just, contact them. Hopefully they're not like, oh, okay, and just never talk to us again. Hopefully they actually take stock in it, and we're able to keep them engaged in things and even create things at conference just for that cohort of people. But I do think we need to do something to move the needle, and I love these ideas.
Before you know it, we'll have a pyramid scheme. Like, if you got nominated and you nominate someone else, you say $5 more.
Yep. We'll give you a t-shirt. I love that. So
I love that idea. Oops. I love that idea too. I just wonder, when is the right time to do that? Knowing the state we're in as a whole, is now the time to do it when things are virtual, so they maybe have more ability? Or do we want them to really be able to engage more physically with us too?
I mean, is both the right answer? I think probably now,
yeah,
in the future, we continue this for as long as we can. And I think this is where membership, secondary, and the treasurer kind of work together. What would it look like if we selected 30 for this next upcoming year to see from a membership standpoint, how much of a hit would that be? Can we afford that? Would something that can be kind of absorbed in the funds that we're not using to travel this year? You know, can this be something we apply for an Imagine grant for to keep going for next year? You know, like there's ways.
I wonder if it's a grant we can apply for, even a Lilly grant. I don't know.
Yeah. Or this might be an opportunity. I know we pull on our colleges a lot, but this might be an opportunity for them, like with your membership, chip in an extra $50, and now Purdue is sponsoring Benton Central to be a member of INACAC. You know,
Right.
Could, I mean, I can think of some high schools or some colleges, us included, where we want to make inroads with many high schools, and this could be a way of making an inroad with a high school.
Mm-hmm.
I know Lilly would not be a possibility because they only do 7,500 per year, for instance, for different organizations, and they already give us the max. So I know that wouldn't work, but we always could look at other locations and other opportunities with different corporations.
Yeah, I love the idea of colleges and universities paying a little bit extra if we're able to do that to sponsor, because we're all looking to build connections with the high school side. So that would be a great way to do that.
Yeah.
And if we're interested, I don't know a lot about grants. If we're interested in applying for grants, who would be the best person to help us with that?
Ooh, depends
Or
on.
is there a good place to start, or just kind of do some research?
Does anyone on this committee have experience with grant writing? I mean, like on a larger scale.
So, I mean, each year for conference, I write a grant request for Lilly, and Boyd does as well for the college fair side. I don't know if necessarily Lilly, we've done the same thing for Lilly every year. So, I mean, it's always a letter with certain information in it. And it's just kind of a standing thing that they always offer. I mean, so far, we just got the letter saying that we got approved this year. So, I mean, it's not a huge in depth. We don't have to have statistics and information we pull in or anything. But I mean, I'm more than happy to help. I know Boyd probably would be as well. As far as if there are certain grant propositions, I know a couple I've done just for my job as far as grants. Most universities have a grant officer, and I've always ran everything by them, any kind of grant I do. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a possibility at different places as well. But yeah, I think definitely there's some of us that have written grants before that would be more than happy to help.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mackenzie, if you and Matt find a couple of grants that you think might be applicable to us, definitely bring them by one of these meetings or send us an email about it, because it really depends on what the grant is asking for. There are like some up to the level of like research grants where we may have some strange obligations pulled on us and we don't want to go down that road. But could be some where we can just talk about a need of some of our high school counselors and how we want to support them and their students going to college. So if I'm hearing correctly, we kind of need to identify, I guess for this plan, we need to identify the target populations and what it would look like if we were to offer a certain population like a free membership for a year. And I guess we need to run the numbers. We can, if you guys can kind of pull some of those things together by the November 13th meeting. I know that's 11 days, so if that's not possible, I understand. But if it is possible to just get some preliminary pieces in place and get some of the board's buy-in from that, I think that could be really helpful for us from a membership standpoint. And we didn't mention this much, but I know we talked about like public school counselors. I would also like to throw CBOs into that conversation as well. We actually lost a really awesome young lady who was a member last year because she was with a college. She moved to a CBO, and we lost her because the CBO did not have the funds to keep her on. And there are a good number of CBOs within the state that we can partner with and they have a membership stream as well. You know, so if we can consider one or two of those agencies with this as well, I think that could be really helpful.
I think a name we also use potentially for grants or things like that is Kate Kaufman.
Yeah.
She does a lot of that right now and has a lot of connections to things. So she may be a good person to reach out to get some ideas of things that are even out there.
That's a really good idea, Lindsay. You're totally right.
I don't know if you know her, Mackenzie, or if anybody, or I can give you her contact information too.
I can send an email that like introducing you. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I need to talk to her anyway.
Thank you.
She's still at U. She's at UIndy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So while they do that, I'm gonna work on this survey a little more and send it back for more feedback, and then I'm going to just come up with a list of other ways that people can articulate their why and spread the news of their why, and then I'll get that back to everybody probably before the 13th too, just so you can see what you think before we have the meeting, if that's okay. Just I'll send it by email.
Great.
Well, thank you all. We'll start working on this and hopefully try to pull some things together by November 13th. And then if you all have any additional ideas or anything else we can work on, just let us know.
Thank you, guys.
Perfect. And I would use, if Stacy, if you're willing to help them run some numbers of things, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, Mackenzie, just add me into any of that communication with the IACAC executive assistant email. Okay. And then I can pull whatever numbers, we can play around with it and see what we can come up with.
Okay. All righty.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and no gentlemen. Matt left me out today. Is the only guy. Okay, so first off, Lindsay, thank you for coordinating that meeting. That was so helpful to talk with them about everything going on with membership.
Yeah, they made it easy. They responded right away. All good.
Oh yeah, and I saw I saw you talk to Michelle a little bit as well about her joining us today, but that wasn't possible. Did you want to speak about that at all, about anything? Because I think I read some of the email. Well, I read all the email exchange, but I didn't know, like, were you going to say some things about the 846 plan or 849 plan?
Yep. And I can do that whenever you want me to. She could not join us, but we have Tiffany Powell join us next Monday to talk about the all of the sessions. We did all the fairs and panels and things like that, so we can kind of brainstorm some ideas before we meet as the board next Friday. But Michelle, it sounds like the Inclusion Access and Success Committee has kind of tabled that initiative right now, so they haven't fully decided what they want to do with it. So there's no need for us to continually pursue it. She'll reach out to us again once she knows a little bit more, or the ideas that they have behind that effort. But one of the things that we also talked about that was mentioned at our last board meeting was her interest in subcommittee. So kind of a subcommittee that would be, various members of different committees that we already have, but who kind of come together so it doesn't feel like each committee is so siloed, for example, so that they're actually working together and doing a little bit more together to help INACAC as a whole. And that's definitely something she's still very much interested in, and something that we should present to the board next Friday in terms of who's involved. It wouldn't need to be necessarily every committee, but maybe those committees that do a lot more events or programming or membership or things, so that we can do a little bit more collaboration together. And maybe they meet, as a subcommittee once a month or something, or however often they want to do it, to make sure that we're combining efforts, that we're not crossing over each other, that we maybe collaborate a little bit more. Those types of pieces are something that she brought up that she's still very much interested in and happy to also kind of lead once the committee is formed. So she wanted to throw it out there, and I said I would throw it out there to this group, and then I could actually put a little bit of something together that when I send out board information in terms of calls for requests and things like that, I put in there if somebody would be interested in that, to include their name and information. And we can talk a little bit about it in our board meeting and then really get that group together based upon people's interest or feedback.
So I think I understood this correctly. Are we talking about like subcommittees amongst the executive board?
Yes. So just one subcommittee.
There's one subcommittee.
But
Okay.
like just one subcommittee that could be, so for instance, like inclusion, access, and success and PDC both expressed interest in the fact that they do a lot of efforts and a lot of things for our members or for different things going on, but they feel a little like siloed, like their inclusion, access, and success of INACAC, but they don't always know what's going on with like PDC or government relations or things. And so if we had a group that so they were already on the exec, they were already doing their efforts for the group, but they just got together once a month to kind of discuss what's going on within their committees, what's happening, goals, efforts, and are there ways where we can combine to make it a lot more purposeful and feel like we're kind of one larger group than just all these siloed subgroups.
I think that's great. It's just a matter of mobilizing that, but I think that's great for those committees to be talking to each other and sharing ideas. Because like you said, I think you said this a year ago, like professional development committee does a lot, but this is all a professional development organization. So all of us should be doing, some and talking more about that. And I think if we can mobilize that type of committee, I think that would be great. What would you said you would kind of message the group to see who's interested in serving there?
So what I would just kind of do is I would put something like in the body of the email explaining it, and then in the actual like report request, one of the questions I would ask is, would your committee be interested in joining the subcommittee?
Sure.
If so, yes or no kind of a thing, and who might do it. And it doesn't even have to be the if there's co-chairs, it could be whoever they want to do, but somebody that could join efforts that already is a part of the board, so then they could bring things to the board if they wanted to as a group, those types of pieces. It's not going to be necessarily added work, it's just maybe one more meeting a month, potentially, with an hour or something of the time, but it's more just kind of collaboration of here's where we're going, here's what we're doing, hey, let's combine efforts and do this together, or, oh, you're doing that in November, okay, let me wait and do that in December, kind of a thing.
Okay.
That's what a couple people have brought that to my attention, and I said, well, I would reach out to the exec first to make sure there wasn't any strong opinions one way or the other, and then she and I could craft a message to send to the board prior to our meeting, since I'm already going to be communicating with them, getting information and stuff to prep for our meeting. Does anybody else have an opinion one way or the other?
I do not. I think it's great, but I already kind of said that.
I think it's a really good idea too to have groups that are going to work on some similar things talk to each other so that they can maybe join forces and not potentially duplicate or whatever.
I totally agree. I think it's a great idea moving forward.
Perfect. Well, I will talk to Michelle and go forward that way, and then we'll put something together in my kind of call out that I send where I give the link to make your form. So, and on that note, if there's anything specific any of you want me to include or ask in that report that I'm requesting from them, let me know the next couple of days, because I'm going to get that out to people here probably by Thursday to give them some time to fill it out, and then I'll send out another reminder. So if you have anything you want included, let me know here soon.
Will do.
And then I'll bother you for agendas.
It's coming. I promise it's coming.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're all good. You're all good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome, Matt. Good to see you, bud. Okay. So as Lindsay kind of mentioned, and I was going to mention as well, we have our next meeting on the 13th, our next exec board meeting. I'll get an agenda out for that. It's going to be pretty standard agenda, as most of our board meetings are. I don't think we don't have anything like big from a like surprise standpoint. It'll mainly be just reporting out. The only thing that I kind of wanted to discuss with you all before that meeting to see if we wanted, like if we needed to bring it up at that meeting is Jeremy, Horn, and Tara. They're working on the bylaws together. And I know there's a process with that. The bylaws have to be basically rewritten. We kind of have to agree on it, and then it goes to membership for them to review, and then we would vote on it at like virtually at conference. And there's a bunch of like layers in between all that to make sure that, you know, we get everything out to the membership in timely fashion. We have our voting situation set up and tested in a timely fashion. I just kind of wanted to talk through just like a rough timeline so that when we do talk to the board, I'll have some notes to share with them about what we would like to do. The way I'm kind of considering it is that we asked them to have a rough address to the board in early to mid-December so that the board can look over it for a few weeks. I know it's over the holidays, which we're just kind of up against that because I think we have to give it to our membership with at least, you know, a month and a half, 2 months to like look over it. So that'll put us up until, you know, like mid-February when they would have had, if we get it out by like the first of the year, they'll have until mid-February to look over it before we hit right around conference time. So
the bylaws say no less than 30 days. I want to say it says no more than 60 days. So
okay,
we could double check that, but I'm like 100% sure about the no less than 30 days part.
Okay, so yeah, like that right, that month and a half sweet spot would be good. So I think at the latest we can, Katie, remind me of conferences at the 20th of February.
23rd, I think.
23rd, okay.
Yeah, February 23rd.
Okay. So yeah, if we get it out by January 1, let's say January 11th at the latest. That'll give us like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks before conference. That feels like a good amount of time for anyone to not only review them, but also give us like contact us if we need to make any updates. You know, we can do all those things as well. Any thoughts on that?
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. I will communicate that with Tara and Jeremy so that they can just kind of be prepared, you know, to talk about some of the changes they want to make. Much of it is done. Luckily, before Andy left, him and Tara put together a rough draft of what it would look like. And I'm sure that that's what Tara and Jeremy are probably using as their kind of blueprint for any modifications they're going to make. So I would say 75%, if not more, is already done. It would just be that last bit of fine tuning to make sure that it is what we need it to be before we share it with our board and with membership. So I will email them about that. Stacy, I did not give you any preparation for this at all, but anything new with the website that we should know about? Any updates? Or?
No, Ty has been mostly in communication with them. We did get an email from a gal named Maria who seems much more on it and quick to respond. I don't know really what the hang up. I mean, they're definitely still in there messing with it because like if you go to committees, there's a general committee and then there's like committee overview. So it looks like there's 2 duplicate pages, but one is inaccurate and one is correct. So So if you notice those things, I notice them too. It's a little bothersome. So no, there's no, I mean, I'm just gonna, if okay, I'm just gonna send kind of a straightforward like email about, what's the
timeline?
cutoff time? Because really, like, when's the cutoff time too that you're going to be in here messing around and changing things? Because I just kind of like to know that as well. And I was going to bring up also, I know a couple of you are on this, if not everyone, the affiliate compliance update email that came from this Heather Mackey.
Yeah, I saw that.
So she's taken over compliance at INACAC, and it looks like she's just having trouble locating some things. So, and Lindsay, you might be able to, I have the checklist. I'm guessing a lot of that information is going to be on our, in our Google Drive. So I just didn't want to duplicate if anybody else had responded to her or had been working on it, but I will work on uploading everything from this checklist that they've provided.
Yeah, most things are on the drive.
Okay.
And I have not uploaded anything yet, but if you want to do it, and then as you need something, let me know if you can't find it or whatever, and I can keep providing to or look at the previous before we just send it via email. So I can look at, emails too and send information to you as well.
Okay. That sounds good. I'll get working on it. And if I run into a hurdle, I'll let you know.
Yeah, just let me know and I can help out that way. That way it's just coming from, I guess, one person rather than multiple of us.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. And then I'm going to go back to Cobalt as well and just hopefully have an update then for Friday. And I'll check in with Ty. Ty might know more than I do, but.
And a question on the website. I know you're going to ask as far as what the timeline is. Haven't we been working on this for like over a year? Do they have like a set like guideline deadline? Like, are we still paying them? Like, even though like it's been
in the
like
time when I interviewed, which I think was like almost a year ago, I know that it was being discussed then. And then when Jean and I were transitioning, but in the time I've been here, and I think Matt can agree with this, like, I mean, they've not asked for payment. I don't know if all of that transition like that happened before, but I don't know if we've paid them anything. There's been no invoice or.
If they, and I don't know how it was set up with the contract or anything like that, but like if they agreed to it, like this is getting really, really long.
Yeah.
As far as this process, I know you're dealing with it so much more than like any of us are, but if we do pay for like the time period that we have their services.
Yeah, I don't,
or
and I wasn't a part of that contracting. So I honestly, I mean, but every email, the response every time is just kind of some fluffy, yeah, we're working on it kind of answer. And so I think that it's probably not to be mean or anything, but just time to have a little more like, a drop dead date that this is going to be done. And I'm going to try to look through the files, see if I can find the contract or something and see. I think they really tried to use like COVID and all of that as a big, like that held them up a bunch. But I mean, a lot of people were working from home too. So.
And they're a technology company. Everything's
I
never really understood why they quit working.
I guess maybe the only thing I could think of is if they suddenly had to help a lot of folks update their websites because of COVID stuff. That's about the only thing I could think of. I probably have, I'm sure that I still have email threads about us agreeing to work with them, although Jean really spearheaded that. Until
I'll be able to find it because since we share, it's her old email. I can usually dig
and
up.
I know we agreed on like a set fee. And at one point they came back and said, well, we also recommend such and such. And I think we adjusted the fee slightly or agreed to, opt up to a couple of things. But whether or not something's been paid, that part I couldn't tell you. But, pretty recently they came back and said, okay, look, they messed up with the hosting, like the draft got deleted basically. And then we kind of said, no, we still want what we originally said, like,
Yeah.
let's get back at it.
We
So-
shouldn't be charged for any of that because they paused for so long that
Right.
their system deleted the draft. None of that should be on us. I do see here that looks like there was a phase 1 invoice of $750.
Okay.
And that email is dated like August of 2019. So yeah, so I will get something typed up to them and see where we're at.
Okay.
I'll have some good news for Friday.
Man, I would hope so, because it's just weird. Like, if we just need to like step away and not be on their books anymore, and we don't have this expectation that one day we're gonna turn on our website and it's gonna be perfect and shiny and new. Because I every day I feel like that's less likely. And
Well, every day I get in there, like I can tell that they're changing things, but even some of like just the blue font banner that says homepage or whatever, all of that still looks homemade. Like it looks like I did it. So
yeah.
I mean, it's not professionally swapped over yet. I mean, I feel like there's still a lot left undone.
And I feel like if we're the client, they should be reaching out to us. I'm like, hey, we're gonna be doing this next week, and this is gonna be happening, and da da da. It shouldn't be like we see small things happening that we notice, which is also live. So our people who just check out our website are just like, why does this look like 1995 Yahoo page?
Right. And in the grand scheme of business, I think we have a pretty simple website. So
yeah,
we're not, selling products on it. I mean, it's a pretty simple website. So I think a year is horrible customer service.
Well, and I remember Jean before conference, she said that it should be a couple months after conference and the new webpage should be done. And typically, and I don't know if this is at your locations too, like when we have any website changes, unless it's just like adding registration, we're really redoing everything. They copy our current one, they make all the changes, and then they just push live, and like the whole website's updated, like in the middle of the night.
Right.
And I mean, like they don't, unless it's just like adding a logo somewhere, or adding like something quick that just is like typical maintenance. But when you do a whole website overhaul, you build it outside the live web page or website, right, and then you just activate it. And so, I mean, can we maybe ask for like weekly updates from them, just so we can maybe have better progress and better.
That's a good idea.
It's just a thought. Like if we tell them, I think that would maybe say, we are serious. We want this done now. And if they have to do weekly updates, they're going to have to do stuff in order to actually have stuff on the updates.
Yes, that sounds perfect.
I think that would be a good recommendation to Ty, to say, we know you're communicating with them, but maybe it would help to step it up and ask them for, a weekly update.
I completely agree with that. And Stacey, sorry to dump that on you, but I think
it's frustrating too, because I feel like I never have anything to update on when it comes up. So I will push it a little bit.
Hey, one day is gonna be your day. I'm gonna say, Stacey, and you're gonna be like, boom,
it's done.
It's gonna be fireworks. It's gonna be amazing. Can't wait. Yeah. Okay, moving forward. I know that we're just pushing along. Speaking of which, and this is not to rehash the whole website thing, but I was taking a look at the award nomination forms, and I was wondering, Karen, this might be something that I'm bugging you about a little bit. Is it possible? I mean, I know it's possible, but can we change the paper forms to a survey, just to make it a little bit easier to submit?
Yeah. I updated those a while ago, so now I'm trying to picture. I can definitely go back through them and see if there's anything that wouldn't lend itself to a Google form.
Okay. Well, and I'm not even asking you to do that by yourself. I was just wondering, would you have like an issue? Because I think it would make it easier for the review process and,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Have you received many nominations yet?
I haven't gotten anything. It's so early. I mean,
Sure.
I wanted to be sure it was out there with plenty of time, but I didn't really expect to get anything. Kate Kaufman mentioned something about she had like a nomination she wanted to make. So I've heard of one intention so far. Only a couple some of them come to me though, and like the Rising Professional goes to PDC, I think, and Campodonago goes to IAS, so I wouldn't know about those.
Yep. And I can speak for IAS. I know that she asked us like, hey, what do you have? Like, who are you? She's asked us to nominate people. So we're working on that as well. So it's coming. Cool. Okay. Because I know I've used Qualtrics for a couple of things before, but I was just thinking like, if it would make it easier for people to submit or easier to share or easier for them, instead of writing it and sending it to you, if that would be easier.
Oh, I've made quite a few Google Forms in my day, so I could definitely work on that.
If you need my help, I've done quite a few as well. So if you need my help, I'll be happy to help you with that. And then we could just send the link to Stacy and you could change it out on the website.
Or we could offer both, both options.
We can, okay, I hear you. We could do that. We could do that as well.
I'm thinking the awards, that would work for the awards. I don't know about the candidacy ones because we ask, at least the one thing we ask for like a signature from a direct supervisor. That's a little tougher to do on a Google form, but at least we could start with the awards.
It's a good idea. So one of the last things I wanted to talk about before, like just kind of opening the floor to everyone, and I kind of wanted to gauge what you're thinking and if there's anything that INACAC can do or how we can be helpful. Students, maybe I've just been talking to all the wrong people for this conversation and everyone else is fine, but I'm betting that that's not the case. From all the high school counselors I've talked to and all the colleges I've talked to, anecdotally, less students are applying and most colleges and universities are down from where they would be this time a year ago. Of course, this is troubling. And you get why. There's a pandemic, like it's not like we need to figure out what's going on. But I think the greater question is, what's INACAC's responsibility here? And what do we need to do to help on either side, either students at the high school side, like through their senior year or on the college with, like, is there something else we need to be doing to help colleges with getting students to apply? I think as much content as it was, the virtual college exploration was a great amount of content that can be really helpful to a lot of students, I think, and that still exists. The recordings are still available on our website. So is that an avenue? Is there something else we need to be doing? I just kind of want to dialogue with you all to see where you are, if you are down in numbers, or Karen, if you are seeing if your students aren't applying at the same rate they normally would. So, and what can INACAC do to help this situation?
I wish I had the answer. Yes, I definitely feel like not as many of my students have applied. It's tough when I can't get my hands on them, and I've read a bunch of feedback. So I guess this needs a little explanation. We offered a credit rescue thing. So students who didn't do real well in a class first quarter, say they were in like the 50 to 60% range. We did credit rescue that was actually more of a conversation about how the quarter went, what they could do differently, what tools and resources, and so I saw a theme in the feedback and from talking to some students that they're struggling with like suddenly being expected to structure their own time and kind of manage their own stuff. I worked on English from, 8 o'clock to 9:10 because I was in the room, and that's where I go. That's what I work on during that time. Um, and, I feel like this is an access issue too, that, my students, more than maybe Pam Nixon's students, are probably living in an overcrowded situation or a home environment that's not real conducive to, to learning. And so everything I've seen is just, kids are overwhelmed and kind of under motivated. They're struggling to figure out how to manage this, stay motivated, have good workspace, structure their own time suddenly. So I don't know, maybe it's going to get better this next quarter. I hope a lot of students kind of worked through that and are figuring that out. But all of that going on, I think, means that something extra to do, like apply to colleges and financial aid, is just like they're not even getting the stuff. They're getting report cards, and they're getting grades of Fs. Like, that's the stuff they need to be doing. Another side thing, like applying to college, is just it's just not something that they're able to start doing. And I can't get my hands on them for the most part. I've got maybe 65% of of seniors are actually attending school, and that's only 2 days a week. So my students, each one of their classes, they only go to once each week. So I definitely am not pulling them out of a class. I don't know. I don't know what INACAC can do. At first I was thinking, do we try to put on some kind of a campaign, kind of like College Go Week, but I don't know. I don't know what else there is that can be done.
I mean, I feel like we kind of have, with what the college exploration piece was, and the fact that there also was a College Go Week.
I know.
I don't know. I think those are helpful and probably help some students, but your feedback right there was really helpful. And I think a lot of counselors are struggling with just like, how do I get in front of my students and help them? And that there's this bigger things in their life right now. And even if they didn't make like a November 1 or a November 15th or a December 1 deadline, they'll get around to applying to college at some point. Okay.
Yeah, I think most of them will. I've had a student or two say something about taking a gap year. My gut tells me my students in particular, I don't think that they necessarily have less desire to attend college. I think it's more disorganized and unmotivated, and I'm just not. I'm putting off getting started on it, or I'm not thinking about that because I got too many other things happening. I think some of my students are working too many hours also. My school says they're supposed to be online, like they're still supposed to have the same school day, whether that's at home virtually but I think I've heard of some students who are working a lot more hours. So that's also cutting into the time that, they might be working on these kinds of things. And especially, if their families have been hit with like job loss, that those hours might be kind of important to those kids and those families. And it's kind of understandable.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to kind of add to that? I mean, be helpful.
I was just going to add that I think one of the things that was mentioned by Corinne at USI that I sent to all of you was the key for collaboration. And I know some institutions will continue to do things because of their efforts and they're different than other schools. But if INACAC and NACAC keep doing the virtual world that we're living in, affairs for the spring, do we all pay the $400 whatever for NACAC fair, or do we collaborate and say, okay, Indiana is going to focus on this one day or these 2 days to give students more concentration in one thing rather than doing multiple things, but also for that institution who may be a small private that can't really afford it as much to be like, okay, maybe I'll get more interest and involvement in that because this is the one day that Indiana is really focusing on this event or this fair or whatever it might be as well. I can tell you I moderated the USI panel. And I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something right because everything I've done for them, they have triple the amount of people attend than any of the rest of us. So their hits on their things they're doing, they had 100 and some kids, 147 kids or something registered for their sessions. I mean, so the ideas that they have, I feel like we should listen a little bit because they've got some pretty good ones, obviously, because it's obviously resonating with students some way, shape, or form. So I don't know what that looks like, and that's why I asked Tiffany to join us next week so we could talk some things over just to kind of see how she's feeling or how the calendar committee's feeling about things and ideas they have for spring or what they think about spring. So it's not just the whole board talking and sharing all these ideas, but really kind of getting more concentrated. But I feel like, I don't know if there's, we're all getting applications in different ways, but if we can somehow collaborate and make it less, nights or less events or less virtual things that the students have to do and more of a one free Indiana night of something that they can really feel like they can learn and get a lot from in one night, 1 hour, maybe. I don't know.
I can tell you the calendar committee is going to be up for whatever ideas that we have. So just so everybody knows, because we had a meeting at 3. And I don't know. Not sanctioning anything. Yeah. We came to that conclusion. So I don't know. We talked for a while and we all just kind of feel like, and I'm not going to take all this from her, but just so you guys are aware, so we can have these ideas to talk over with her next week. I think that we just feel kind of stuck between not being able to do anything in person. And I know USI was successful with the college exploration, but I know that it went really well for anybody else. And so it's going to be hard for us, I think, to convince people to do that again, pay that money again. So I think the idea of the collaboration is probably one of the best things that we have right now. But there's not a lot of positivity or any kind of silver bullet ideas, I guess, coming from the calendar committee either.
Okay.
Not to be a downer. There's just we don't know what to do. Because like I said,
right.
I don't know how it was for all of you guys. I don't know. I told the committee this earlier that even if we wanted to do another exploration program in the spring, that Rose won't be doing it. So it wasn't worth the money for us. I think we had four students attend our own presentation.
Info session, yeah. Do you know?
If it helps you at all, I moderated IU and they had 7.
Yeah. So like I said, it's just.
So, I mean,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, but for $350, like I think we got everybody that we did the first time because everybody was willing to give it a try. But so even from the calendar committee side, we can't even suggest something like that any longer because I don't think it's going to have the same or any involvement like it did. So
I don't know if it will behoove us to talk to StriveScan about how I don't know what views look like after the event. I know how to get to it, but I don't know if 4 came to yours, but since then 20 have watched it. I'm not sure if we could start collecting that data, or if we need to send out some more hype to the communication committee about those to send students maximum now. I'm not sure. I mean, we can do that. The videos are all on our website, so we can start sending those back. But it's I don't know. I think all of us, from an affiliate standpoint, are in the same boat. Like no affiliate, from my understanding, and Karen or Katie, you person, anyone else had any program that was remarkably successful or anywhere close to what we had in the past with our college fairs and high school visits. I think we're all kind of trying to move more things into this virtual space, and maybe just like students are kind of overwhelmed with emails and they just kind of shut down. Maybe the same thing is true it feels like the same thing is true of the virtual programs. So
I totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, started in the summer with virtual events, and they were actually pretty productive. I mean, we had, like 30, 35 people in the summer, which honestly, we count that as a big win, just changing everything to virtual. But the ones now, and the show rates have been bad from the get-go. I mean, we had, I think, 45, 50 people registered for that, and there was like 30 people show. But now we can have 20, 30 registered and have like 8 show. So and we put the same amount of work into all of them, have the same amount of speakers, and it's getting to where we're still doing them because we have to. We have to have something offered, and they're good for those 8 kids, but people are tired of virtual. We've tried them at night, we've tried them during the day, we've tried them on the weekends. It's our greatest ones right now are those like for specific programs, like our B2MD program had one, and they had 15 kids that were super engaged the entire time. But it was a very small, unique program that, it's a competitive program, so everyone wanted to find the information out. But our general ones are just, we do them, but we don't have to pay for them either. We're doing them, but if we would have to pay for all of them, that would be definitely something we would reconsider because they're not productive.
This was
the one thing I can tell you right now is, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm just being kidding.
I would say the only thing we're finding really hot right now that people are liking is a real raw video done by students.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put something out there that's like, you can tell a student did on their cell phone and is like a testimony or it's a video or a tour or whatever, they're eating that up. But they're not doing all the other stuff.
So
because it's something that they can watch for 2 minutes that they don't feel like we branded or did all these fancy things for, and it's by somebody they can relate to who's another student. So I don't know if we do INACAC sponsors like student testimonies about why you apply to college and why you go to college and all the important things and don't miss out on this opportunity, and here's why I like what I'm doing. I don't know. I think we're all doing those at our own institution. So do we combine some of those and make some sort of place that we can house them or share them with counselors or people, so it's not all going to all of our 20 million different websites and it's one place? Or I don't know.
So INACAC TikTok, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the youngest person who can be in charge of that? Because
probably you.
No, Karen, you're around the young people. I'm gonna go with you being in charge of the INACAC TikTok.
Oh my God, TikTok.
Yeah.
I know how to.
But something, I don't know if we just house something in one place, rather than, well, now I go to this page and I go to this page and I go to this page. It's just like a real quick I don't know, but that's the only thing we're finding that is actually engaging them in any way, shape, or form.
That kind of makes sense to me because I was trying to find virtual tours for my son to watch of a couple of colleges that I was going to have him apply to. And
just the butter and melt. Yeah, and you put some garlic in it.
What I really would have liked.
It should. Is it all warm? Okay. Is the butter melted?
What are you guys making?
Did I forget? I forgot to mute myself. Great. Where my wife's boss is not feeling well, so we agreed to make her dinner tonight.
Oh.
So I apologize that I wasn't muted just now.
No, what I was saying is Lindsay was
Go
talking
ahead.
about the videos made by students, and what I would have liked to have found was like a tour guide with a GoPro on his head. Like I want it to be like walking around the campus and hearing what the person said. That the things that you click with the arrows, it's fine, but I don't know, it's kind of confusing. It's not like being on a real tour. I wanted something like more authentic, like
and we just had a virtual preview day, and we have another one Saturday. And we created one of those. Our students created one of those, but we just released it to these people who attended this event, and then we're attending it to everybody else. And we had 400 and some students register for the event. We only had 205 attend, but we sent the video to all of them, and we've had over 600 views and shares and likes on that one little video. And we only had 200 people attend it. So
That's really
and
amazing.
It's a 12-minute campus tour by students with a GoPro that just did stuff. And we were like, oh, okay. Like, let's do more videos, you know, because obviously something, we don't know. We have no idea. And so now our colleges are doing them. So like each individual college is doing it from their perspective of, I'm a student in this college and what's this like, because they're obviously doing things with it. And it's a simple video, like you mentioned, Karen, like real short, you know, by a student on a GoPro, through a phone, whatever. And we're like, okay, cool. No students, you know?
I realized it when I was previewing them to send my son links, and I'm like, oh, he's not gonna feel this one. Like, I was trying to find something to send him a link to that I thought he might get interested in watching. So yeah.
I can share. I mean, I don't really care. I can share it with you guys just to give you an example, but we were blown away, like compared to what we've experienced otherwise. Thought, oh yeah, we'll see what happens, and it's like going crazy.
Lindsay, if you wouldn't care to share that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I can share it. It's right now it's a private on YouTube because we're waiting for this event to be over because we're trying to make it as like a carrot kind of thing, but it's pretty well out there, you know. But I'm just thinking of something that an INACAC could do, or I don't know, related to that only because of what we've seen just based upon this one little video. Because like the rest of you, our virtual stuff is not good at all either, and our app.
4 minutes. I know. Sorry. I love that idea, and I mean, maybe that's the silver bullet. You know, bye, Karen. As we're wrapping up, I don't know. I know that's the topic that many of us have been thinking about and talking about, and it seems like every high school and every college I've talked to, they've all said they, you know, in a tough numbers.
Oh yeah.
Bring it to us.
Yep.
You know, and it's interesting. It's not like it's certain schools and not other schools. It's everybody. You know, the Purdue presentations haven't been booming. You know, like, so I was just, if we thought of that we feel like could be helpful, then I would love for us to dialogue about it. But it feels like for right now, we're kind of in the same place as the rest of the state and the rest of the country. I plan to bring this up at the board meeting, just for additional ideas that anyone may have for us to think of any new collaborative ways. After hearing what Matt said about the exploration, I think that might be the sentiment of a lot of people, unless we can give them a hard of why to do it again in the spring. Even though I think the information is good that is out there for the price, there's that value proposition. I think they're gonna be like, we'll just do our own thing instead of being a part of this like undertaking. So.
I think too, if we can come up with any ideas for next week when Tiffany joins us next Monday, as well as just uplifting her and making her feel good about it overall, I think that would be really important too, because I can only imagine, you know what I mean, sometimes take the weight on of that or how you feel with that. And so I think anything encouraging we can partake in, but also not feeling like so much of the weight of what's going to happen is on their shoulders, the calendar committee, whatever. I think that's also important.
That's a great point, and I
think that's a lot of weight on some, so.
You're 100% right, and luckily, I mean, the good thing is she did everything. I think they did everything right. Like, I think we needed something. They came together and helped put a lot of things together. So that's really good that they did their job. It's just a matter of like, gosh, what is the answer?
Right. So brainstorm this week, I would say.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to bring, we have like 45 seconds left. Anyone else have anything they would like to talk about today or bring to the table? We discussed a lot. Anything else?
I have a couple things for future discussion, but they're not priority, so we can wait till our next meeting to talk about them.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I have one thing.
Keep your chins up, everybody.
I want to say that. So I'm creating a form to send out, and I want to send out before our exec meeting. I'm working on the policy manual, and I've been looking at different affiliates' policy manuals, seeing what they're asking for. Can you guys think of anything else we need to know for each committee besides like the committee, the time that it takes for their committee? There's a lot of them that have like how many days per year that the committees serve and work through processes. The term of the officers, the mission of their committee, the timeline, different events they host, and then the roles of the chair, co-chair, committee members. Is there anything else you guys want to know or have included in the policy manual for each committee?
Did you mention like term limits for each committee member, or committee chair? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty thorough list, Katie.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
I kind of, some of them have a lot more information, but like, I don't know why they use it. I honestly, like, I don't know why they have it. And there's some that are just really, really sparse. And so I kind of did a happy medium. And so I wanted to send that out, but I wanted to see if there's anything else that you guys wanted to include before I send it out. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really thorough. Good job. Please, thank you guys so much. I'm gonna go finish
Yeah.
I've already heard about, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.
Hang in there. Bye.